Think back to a moment when something went entirely wrong, a sudden layoff, a failed exam, or a painful breakup. In that precise second, it probably felt like your world was collapsing. Our brains are hardwired to evaluate outcomes instantly. We decide an event is objectively good or bad the very second it happens, lacking the patience to wait for the rest of the timeline to unfold. This timeline illustrates the trap. By focusing on a single node, we treat an isolated failure as if we're reading the final page of a tragedy, when we've actually just finished a chapter. A legendary philosophical tale from the Harvey Hills of India offers a way to override this flaw. It centers on a simple farmer who looked at life through a different lens. He practiced the habit of suspending judgment, which allowed him to decouple his internal emotional state from the chaos of external events. The farmer lived a quiet life with a small mud house, a loyal dog, and a couple of cows. His most prized possession was a tall, strong horse he had raised since it was a colt. While his neighbors reacted wildly to every dry season or good harvest, the farmer maintained a state of unshakable equanimity. One afternoon, a wealthy merchant traveled through the village and offered the farmer a sack of gold coins for the horse, enough to feed his family for years. The farmer refused, valuing the bond over financial security. Days later, the son walked into the stable to find it empty. The rope had been untied and the horse was gone. The villagers mocked him, declaring he had thrown away his fortune and was now ruined. The farmer simply replied that what looks like a loss today might not be won tomorrow. He viewed the missing horse as an incomplete dataset, rather than a finalized definitive disaster. A week later, the horse returned from the forest, followed by 5 magnificent, untamed wild horses. The villagers pivoted instantly to euphoria, calling him the luckiest man alive. The farmer warned his son not to celebrate yet, refusing to label this sudden wealth as a blessing. The next morning, while taming a stallion, the son was thrown to the ground. His right leg buckled and snapped in 2 places. Once again, the neighbors declared the horses a curse born of the farmer's greed. They sat in despair, convinced the family's future was destroyed. But 2 weeks later, war broke out. The king's soldiers marched into the village with a royal decree, drafting every able-bodied young man for a brutal campaign. Because of his injury, the farmer's son was left behind. He stayed home to heal while the other young men of the village were marched toward a battlefield from which few would return. This sequence proves that an event's value is fluid. The lost horse led to the wild horses. The wild horses led to the broken leg. A broken leg saved a life. The meaning of each event changed depending on where the measurement stopped. Human life never unfolds in predictable straight lines. Looking at this massive web of interconnected events, it becomes clear how impossible it is to calculate a final outcome based on what is happening right now. Building resilience starts by refusing to judge a moment the instant it arrives. We have to give the story time to unfold before we label it. This requires trusting the process, recognizing that a painful setback today might be the necessary preparation for a benefit further down the road. Emotional balance is found by staying humble during sudden success and remaining hopeful during apparent failure. The farmer's mantra of "only time will tell" acts as a shield against anxiety, keeping the mind steady while the situation remains in flux. We are rarely wise enough to know if a moment is good or bad when it arrives, so avoid grieving too deeply or celebrating too soon. Wait until the evening to see how splendid the day has truly been.